Any questions here?
Francis, I have a question about freedom.
Excuse me 1 second. Jalal told me that the sound is not working on the webcast. If anybody has a working sound, please just one person send me a message. Yes, go ahead.
So I have a question about freedom. So for a while I was defining freedom as a rebellion. Like, for example, there were some laws that you can do this or you cannot do that, and since I am free, I can break the laws. And now I think it's completely stupid definition, because if I break the laws, I'm still defining freedom with respect to some finite concept, like a law. So there is a notion of freedom which is higher than that. And my question is, when one is established in peace and free, the rest is what is wisdom, the way to deal with life, the way to organize one time, the way to respect some laws or not respect them. It depends on the personality of every people, and we feel when it is in harmony with our sense of beauty and love, and that is all. The way to deal with the relative world in freedom, to be in harmony with it. And is it natural, or do we need to still think about it and getting wiser? And so does it come naturally when one is established in peace, or?
Relative freedom is an image, an imperfect image of our real freedom, of absolute freedom. When we are in love with absolute freedom, we also value relative freedom. In that sense that, that's a law, as above, so below. It's natural to endeavor to manifest in the realm of manifestation the qualities that belong to the realm of the absolute. That being said, on the level of the absolute, we could say that there are two kinds of freedom: freedom from and freedom to. On the path towards happiness, we first discover the freedom from. As we realize that we are not the separate and limited entity we believe to be, but that this consciousness, which is hearing these words right now, instead of being limited and separate, is in fact universal, shared by all, and therefore unaffected by any phenomenon. This consciousness is by nature free from the phenomena it manifests. It is unaffected by the phenomena in the same way as a mirror is not affected, damaged, stained, destroyed by the objects, by the reflections that appear in it. So that's the freedom from. As a result of freedom from, what we experience is peace. We are relieved, we are no longer affected fundamentally by the objects, by the phenomena. But then, understanding that consciousness is the reality which is perceiving these words, and that it is universal, and since there is only one reality, that it is the reality of everything, the substance of everything. It is also that which creates all the phenomena. In other words, not only is consciousness unaffected by the phenomena, but it also creates them. And that's the second freedom that we discover, which is the freedom to. And the freedom to is the understanding of the manifestation as some kind of a song or a celebration, if you will. And both, so it could be said that in the first moment, the manifestation, the universe, in fact points to the freedom which we are as consciousness, as reality, but that then, on the other hand, it celebrates its freedom as we see it as originating from there. That's if we speak of freedom. There is another issue which is deeply related to this one, which is free will. This feeling we have to are able to make our own decisions. And this feeling is in fact, in a certain sense, a hallucination. As a separate entity, we believe to have a limited freedom. For instance, we don't have the freedom to dictate other people's thoughts under normal circumstances, right? But we believe that we have the freedom to choose our own thoughts. And that's why we make a distinction between other people's thoughts and our thoughts. Other people's thoughts, we have no control over their thoughts, but we believe that as separate individuals, we control our thoughts. Well, if you try to control your thoughts, you will realize that that's not true. You see? So it was something that, it was a freedom that we assumed we had, but as we really investigate, do I control my thoughts? We realize no. We realize that in fact, the thoughts, they come to us like the weather. They are like cosmic events. That's which they are. They are cosmic events. And so are the thoughts of people around us. In fact, there is only one thinker in the cosmos, which is the cosmos itself. And it is the cosmos that creates all the thoughts simultaneously. So that it follows that as a separate entity, we have no freedom to think. If we have no freedom to think, we have no freedom to decide, since our decision comes as thoughts. And if we have no freedom to decide, we have no freedom at all, right? If we have no freedom to decide, that's it. We are cooked, no freedom at all. So that as a separate entity, we have no freedom. And nevertheless, that's the beauty of it, nevertheless, we know freedom. Because we know that when we want to do something, that it comes from this joyful space. And it is true, we know freedom because it is true that as a separate entity we have no freedom, but also it is true that we are not a separate entity. And that as consciousness, we are the only one as consciousness creating these thoughts. And therefore, that this experience of our freedom that we know, which is in fact not different from consciousness because it is the experience of the place from which our thoughts or our decision originate, which is consciousness, that which creates. And this place is true freedom. So, to put it in a nutshell, as a separate individuals, we have zero freedom, but as consciousness, we have absolute freedom, we have total freedom. And the experience of freedom is the same as the experience of consciousness. And it's the same as the experience of happiness, actually. And I often say that, it has to do with the two letters FR, freedom, and friendliness, so love, friendliness, freedom. In German, Frieden means peace. Freude means joy. So happiness, peace, freedom, love, that comes from the same experience. In Latin language, we have a franc, like Villefranche, free.
Like Francis.
Also. Yes, that's what it means, yeah. France.
So in terms of what to do or not to do when one wants, when is established in peace, and what it dictates the action is some kind of beauty, and ethics is dictated by moment to moment, beauty and the sense of goodness, what is right to do, or that's it?
That's the beauty of this perspective, is that usually you see philosophers, they have a hard time defining ethics. Because really ethics get properly defined by religions. Some prophet gets some book dictated or receives big tables, very heavy, with just 10 lines on it. And that's it. And it's supposed to cover all the situations you are going to encounter in life. Too bad, you shall not kill. This guy arrives, at the bank, he has already killed 10 people, and the police chief, he has this sniper having a clear shot at the guy. What is he going to do? He's a Christian. You shall not kill. So he's going not to kill the guy, and the guy is going to keep killing the customers at the bank. You see? So I'm showing that a single book cannot cover. Obviously, what the right thing to do is to kill the bad guy, right? To save lives. So that thou shalt not kill is not a universal good ethical injunction. So, whereas here, it's different. What you do, what is the right thing to do in a given situation is not defined a priori in a book of recipes. Because we don't know what the situation is going to be. But the situation is going to dictate what to do, provided we act not from a personal point of view, but from a universal point of view. Which means, provided we don't act from ignorance, but we act from the vantage point, let's say, of what I say often is of of a benevolent judge who is benevolent and intelligent and who considers the totality of the situation and decides for each person what to do. So you put yourself in the shoes of such a judge, and what this judge tells you to do is the right thing to do. So that's an operational definition of ethics. It is not a definition a priori which is dead, which is made of dead formulas in a book. It's ethics that you can apply in your life day after day after day. The great physicist Erwin Schrödinger, who before physics was not his first vocation. His first vocation was philosophy. He became a physicist just to make a living and because he got a position offered. But anyway, he lived by this ethics. That was, he had discovered that, and he tried to live by this ethical rule, the impersonal rule. And I know that there are philosophers who say, okay, yeah, but if there can be foundations of ethics, not in religion, but there are natural foundations of ethics. But then we have to be careful, because the natural foundation of ethics, we say, okay, love is just a question of genes and hormones and whatever, so that's about the perpetuation of the species, but then we end up with ethics a little bit like the Nazi, where the survival of the fittest. The ones who are not that smart, why don't we kill them? Or the ones who have the wrong eye color, or whatever. So the survival of the fittest, in other words, ethics that are based on biological laws, there is something to these ethics that doesn't really match our spiritual affinities. In a sense, the religious ethics are better because often they were handed down to us from seers, the founders of the religions that often were true sages, and therefore the ethics that they have, that the followers have designed, still have some perfume of the original insights of the seers. Okay.